Roquan Smith, the Bears linebacker, still trying to get a new contract with the team, and it has gotten strange over the past few days. We were on this on Friday. I started hearing that teams were getting called by an agent who isn't an NFLPA-certified agent who was trying to instigate trade interest in Smith, even though the Bears had not given him permission to shop himself into trade. This is one of the problems of players representing themselves. And Chris, one thing that I've been learning, when a player represents himself, he really isn't representing himself. What he's doing is he's circumventing the process and hiring someone at something other than a percentage-based fee to assist him. And those folks who aren't authorized to negotiate with teams are doing it. And they're either doing it directly. One of the things that's also happening is they'll set up an email account that is supposedly the player communicating with the team, and it's actually the agent, the non-certified NFLPA agent, pretending to be the player communicating with the team. So I don't know what the NFL can do about this. They sent out a memo yesterday warning teams, number one, it's tampering if you talk to this person named Saint Omni who is calling the teams and trying to instigate a trade. And number two, you can't negotiate with anyone other than the player if the player isn't represented by an NFLPA agent. And again, they can huff and puff all they want. I don't know how they ever prove it. And like, if you're the Bears, you just want to get a deal done with the guy. You go along with whatever. You just want to get a contract. What does it take to get a contract done with this guy? If we have to hold our nose or look the other way, then so be it, because we just want to get this guy signed.
Yeah, I know. It's very weird. It's up there. It's getting into the dysfunctional area here as far as the relationship between the player and the team. He seems like he really wants out of there, and he's not happy. But I come back to like what Ryan Poles said last week in the free agency, the GM there, and go, I mean, he made some strong statements. And, he said there was, some record-breaking aspects of the contract. So I don't think they're, cheaping out on him here. That's where I'm a little surprised. And, yeah, there's a lot of issues there. There really is. They need him. I think he would be a great fit in that defensive scheme. And, again, when we get into the agent thing, of course, please hire an agent. It's so disappointing to see players do this right now. And can you imagine that? Like, what was Saint Omni doing? Like, calling the front office of teams, like, hello.
He was calling other. He literally was calling other teams.
I don't have saying, the GM's number. Can you give me?
He found a way to get him.
He got him.
He found a way to get in touch with him, and he was calling them up.
Wow.
And he was saying. And as I understand it, it was as blunt and as nonchalant as it could be, even though the guy doesn't have permission to try to seek a trade. I'm Roquan Smith. I'm helping Roquan Smith. I represent Roquan Smith, whatever the case may be, and we're trying to see if somebody's interested in trading for him. It's a blatant tampering violation, and I suspect, or at least I hope, the teams that got the call reported it immediately to the Bears. That's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
If a player initiates contact with you when they're under contract with another team, you have to tell the other team, hey, your guy's calling me up here.
Yeah.
And I think that's what culminated in yesterday's memo. Number one, reminding the teams, you can't talk to these guys unless they have permission from their team to shop themselves in a trade. And two, you can't talk to anyone but the player if the player is going to represent himself.
Yeah, it's amateur hour. For sure there. And yeah, I'm sure the teams are like, what? Who are you? I'm not talking to you. This isn't. So I would think, yes, teams called Chicago, the league, whatever, to kind of report this. It seems the way that's the way it happened. But yeah, kind of a shocking development. It is. And again, we don't know the exact parameters of the contract, but he deserves to be one of the higher paid linebackers in football. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt. He is a special football player. But man, I don't know. Is this going to be? Can they bring this back together right now? It seems like it's kind of getting ugly here, and they're not happy. Even last week with him not practicing, right? I saw Matt Eberflus ask him why he's not practicing. He's been cleared to practice. So there's obviously a disconnect in communication. It seems like it's getting a little bitter here.
What's the end game? We say this all the time with the hold-ins. Almost all of them result in a new contract. At some point, though, the team has to say, hey, look, you're here. It's time to work. We've got to fine you if you refuse to work. And if he leaves, Then you do the whole 5-day letter thing. He gets shut down for the season, doesn't play for anybody. I mean, there are some ugly options for this thing to go as it moves forward, but it's different than a holdout. And the player gets to have it both ways. He's holding out his services, but he's not holding out and getting fined. And at some point, the team's just got to draw a line in the sand, and maybe the Bears are reluctant to do that because they don't want the situation to blow up. All right, we got to take a break. When we return, some of the best catches from the first week of the 2022 NFL preseason. We'll take a look at those when PFT Live continues right after this.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.